Now, there's an industry, a well-funded, multi-billion-dollar, 100-year-old industry that is set about with its dedicated purpose, mission, and its identity to deceive, to capture the minds of the masses. That's what Colossians 2, verse 8 is warning us against. Don't be taken captive by hollow and deceptive philosophy. I want to introduce you to the founder of that industry. His name is Edward Bernays, and he wrote in the 1920s about, in his book, what he called propaganda. He discussed how these mechanisms and motives of control were taking place already then, 100 years ago. Now, before I give you the quote, the 1920s was a period of the birth of popular culture in America. So basically all the fashions and all the advertising industry and the Hollywood entertainment and the standardization of everything, that you fit a mold that the corporate establishment, that Madison Avenue gives to you. This sounds familiar, doesn't it? It kind of sounds like the world we live in today, with the mold being created by the entertainment, the popular culture, the big tech minds of our generation. So this started actually back in the 1920s under the guardianship and guidance and founding of Edward Bernays. The founder of modern public relations is how he is known. He's also the nephew of Sigmund Freud, which is interesting because Sigmund Freud, a master of the individual human psyche, so he's known as, but a relative, a family member of his, Edward Bernays, said, we're going to not master the individual mind, but what he calls, listen to this, the group mind. He says, if we understand the mechanism and motives of the group mind, is it not possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without their knowing about it? That's a pretty chilling statement, isn't it? Do you realize that the people who founded these industries, what he called, we are the ones that pull the wires that control the public mind, that's another quote from his book, Propaganda, they admitted and bragged about this 100 years ago, that we are setting about to control the group mind, and they won't even know about it, he said in that quote. Let me give you another quote from Edward Bernays. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Now, when I was a teacher of U.S. history, I was sharing these quotes 20 years ago, and not even understanding it from a biblical prophetic standpoint. When you, as students of Revelation 13, for example, read in here that the whole world will wonder after the beast, you're going to have this worldwide massive deception, and people will be getting on board, and then you hear quotations from people who are actually doing the manipulation, and they're saying this is happening in our time, in the modern age. People will be intelligently and consciously manipulated by these techniques. It makes me think, I only knew the half of it back then when I was just looking at this as a history student and a history teacher. When I became a lover of Bible prophecy, this information took on a whole new level of meaning. Now let's finish the quote. He says, those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. Now, if I would have asked you, true or false, is your impression, is your guess, is your understanding that in our society today, through the mass media and through the big tech platforms, is it your understanding that we are pretty much governed, our minds molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of? We all kind of had a hunch about that, didn't we? We go, yeah, there's something going on. How does all of society adopt a whole new idea about something so quickly that is so contrary to everything we always knew before, what we know biblically, what we know scientifically, what is evident, self-evident truths? It's like people have gone crazy in our society.